Hello everyone, I think we can start. So everyone, welcome to your first session of CDM. We'll be covering the CDM process overview and Mr. Ram Verma will be taking your session today. Sir, over to you. We can get started, sir, if you're ready.
Yeah, thank you. Y'all can hear me, right?
Yes, sir, we can.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for the confirmation. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our first session for clinical data management. Since it's our first session, we're going to talk about overall the process of clinical data management and what is the data management and why it is so important to, for the clinical trials and what is the requirement even to have such a training or such a course only for related to clinical data management and so what are the different steps that are involved in the clinical data management. Okay. So before I share my screen, I'm not sharing my screen yet, but I just wanted to give some overview, verbal overview. Then I'll quickly share my screen. Okay. So can someone tell me what is the data management or what is the clinical data management? Like any basic guess? Like what is the data management and what do we do? Fine. At least can someone tell me what is the clinical trial? What is the clinical research? Okay, fine. So, fine, I'll explain what is the data management and what is a trial how this data management would help for clinical trial. But before I start with something with the technical aspects, I want you all to remember something that, it's been more than a decade that I'm working in the clinical research setup. That is, I work in the data management. I have experience in clinical operations, trial management, global operations, and all. And what is the most common aspects that we always expect from employees are someone who talks, right? So it's been almost more than 5 years that I'm teaching clinical research and data management, pharmacovigilance, quality control, everything, many things. Uh, so what happens here is that the basic resistance that what we get from students is that no one wants to talk. It's not that no one wants to talk, but it's like people hesitate to talk. Okay, what happens if I talk something wrong, or what happens if I say something incorrect, or misinformation, or what will others think, or whether it's correct or wrong or right, we don't know. So because of this reason, most of the people hesitate. But what happens here, there is no one who is going to question you if you say wrong. There is no one who is going to award you or reward you with the some 1 lakh rupees if you say correct. But of course, we will appreciate you. But no one is going to question you if you say wrong because everything starts with the next step might start with the failure or the wrong information only. So don't worry, do not hesitate to answer. The reason that I mentioned, I'll give an example. And then somewhere 2017 or 16, I think, I went for an interview to one of the leading CRO, that is IQVIA, for a clinical data coordinator role. So there were 400 people came for one role, or I don't know how many roles were there. 400 people, imagine 400 people put a line on their building, and so it's very difficult to select 1 person or 2 person, 3% out of 400 people. But for them, it's not tough. Why? Because out of 400 people, um, they've kept aptitude test. So aptitude test is nothing but English, grammar, and technical understanding, and max skills, chemistry, biology, something like basic five topics. We are supposed to select three topics, and we've cleared. So almost 300 people passed because most of the people were very good in knowledge and all. So 100 people excluded, 100 people failed in the aptitude test. The next was the group discussion. In the group discussion, almost uh, 250 or 260 people gone. Imagine that, because the the topics that they have given and the way people observe you when you talk, especially in the interviews, they see how fast you talk, how slow you talk, how grammatically you talk, and whether you're talking or not, how confident you are. And rest were failed in HR round and technical round. That's a different thing. So the companies are looking more into the communication skills. Minimum 50% of the uh, knowledge they are looking in the communication skills, and the rest of the 50% they are looking into their knowledge of process, like what is a data management, what is a clinical trial. So why? Because work they will teach you once you get the job, but communication, that's something no one is going to monitor you for the rest of the career, your career, during your tenure in that company. And that is the reason that they expect you to have a basic knowledge of this process, which is why we are giving training. And the second thing is that the communication skills, that's something that you always should have. And that is the reason that in between, just a second, in between, I might ask questions throughout our sessions only to understand whether you are able to talk. And the second thing is that also gives me an idea that whether you are understanding my sessions or not. So it's up to you all whether you answer or not. But if you answer, it's not only that you give right or wrong. Guys, whether you, uh, yeah, if you're not talking, just mute, okay? Okay, whether you're, it's not that you give right or wrong questions, but most of the times it all depends on their communications, right? That is the reason. Okay. Um, so again, I'll just give one more example and we'll move to the session. So when I was working as a project lead in India, okay, just to say that I'm in Australia now. So when I was working in India, um, the same company as a project lead, I was handling almost 80 people. So so what we did, most of our teammates, we were having 300 team members, and all of the team members are experienced. All 300 people are well experienced, like some minimum 1 year of experience people. So done for the 1 year, they started hiring only freshers, like Form D freshers, M Form freshers, B Form freshers, MSc chemistry or MSc biology, physiology, mathematics, sorry, not mathematics, microbiology, biochemistry, all these kind of educations, like they only took freshers. For 1 year, they have taken almost 100 people or 150 people. So what happened when they've seen these people performance, they were working very well. They were working very, but when it comes to the presentations, like talking to the customer, how, like, what is the, sometimes we have to understand, explain them our business, like, this is what we are going to do once our project starts. So when we explain this to the sponsor companies, and all this, out of this 100 people or 50 people, 80% people could not explain the process without oh my goodness, guys, please mute. No, okay. So, because I'm losing the flow, that is the reason. So, minimum 85% people did not perform very well for 6 months. So we have to shadow them. So that's additional work for us again to shadow them, teach them, and QC them, everything. So then next year, what they did, they stopped hiring all the fresher people. They started hiring again experienced people for fresher roles. You see that the impact that what we bring, that is the reason that most of the companies don't hire freshers, because we're not up to the mark with the communication skills. So please ensure that you talk, but only when I ask, okay? But if you have any questions, you can unmute and talk. But if you're not talking, please mute so that we don't lose that flow. Okay, so that's about my gyan about for the communication skills since it's our first session. So let me talk about the data management. I'm not sharing my screen yet. Okay, so the data management. Um, you all might have are still studying your masters or bachelors. So why do we study most of the time? To clear the or to complete the course, to complete the education. So what makes you say that, or what makes others say that you are completed your education? That is something called exams. So exams gives marks. The marks tells you whether you pass or fail, or whether you college topper, college, university topper. So the marks are something tells you whether you are how you studied. Let's say when I was doing my master's in my med school, I mean medical college, I used to study so many hours. I used to study for a minimum 12 hours per day. Or if it is Sunday, I most of the time I used to sit in library. But when it comes to exams, I used to do very bad performance, like, because I study a lot. I had almost 28 books for one subject. So this 28 books, I used to revise all these 28 books during exams. So it's not easy, right? Because that is the reason that prior to exams, you are supposed to read only one book, not so many books. So what happened? I used to write so much. For one question, I used to write a minimum 7 papers, 8 papers, which takes 1 hour. Out of 3 hours, I take 1 hour only for one question. This happened to me in final exams. I was writing my final exams. I took 1 hour for one question, and now I have another 12 questions for 2 hours. You see that, and the impact that it created. So then I have to rush. I had to rush further to complete exam. So I passed, but I'm trying to say that. So whenever yeah, then I got marks. So people sees that, hey, he did not study, that's why he got less marks. So no, I actually studied. I studied very good actually. I wrote many books for my like for revision and all. But when it comes to exams, I got less marks. The marks tells me whether I've studied or not, whether I went to school, college or not, whether I've done my practical law in hospital, I did correct law or not, practical things. So because I can't explain people I've studied. So I left it. Let them think whatever they want. Okay. So when you do a clinical trial or when you do a clinical research that we study completely about anything. Like, for example, if you're doing the research in the animals, or if you're doing the research on the medical devices, if you're doing the research on the vaccinations or the drugs, that means you're trying to understand, you're trying to read everything about particular disease, and you're trying to read everything about that particular medication and the combination of both of them. Okay, so that means you understand the disease well, then you know what medication that would work, and you understand this medication. Now you understand. Now you study both of them together. So you study disease and the drug at a time in the research. Anything you it's about vaccination, devices, anything that you talk. So trial is something that we are trying testing a medication in human beings in order to understand the efficacy and safety and efficacy. I'm just giving the lame examples. Okay. So now how do I know that my medication is good? How do I know that this medication is safe? How do I know that this medication is effectiveness? The data, that marks. We don't give the marks, but data. Data is nothing but any observation, any finding, any points, I mean, any laboratory readings is called data. right? So now when we look into this data, we analyze the data and tell whether this drug is effective or not. And there is also other data, the safety data. By looking that, we will say whether it is drug is safe and effectiveness. That's what the we do, right? And do we need a separate team for the data management? Yes, we have. Every company, I mean, especially sponsor company, nothing but pharma companies, the CRO companies will have a data management separate company, separate department who work mainly on the data management aspects, like how do we collect the data and how do we analyze the data, how do we see that there is no incorrect data, how do we see that there is no mistake, there is no incomplete data. So there is a separate team. And how is the career? It is very good actually. I love data management. Why? Because I'll give an example. Few days back, I think 3 days back, there is one of my student messaged me in WhatsApp stating that he's working in one of the top CRO, and I trained him in 2023. I think in 2023 I trained him, and after training him, he got job. He and his friend, both of them got job within 10 days actually. So they both were about to go to foreign if they don't get the job, but after completing the training, both of them got the job. So it was my offline session. So one guy got in the data management, other guy got in the lab service related, like it's lab operations, clinical lab operations. So both of them started at the same time job, but the person who started their career in the data management is in the senior position, and this guy is still in the for the last 2.5 years he did not have any promotion. So he picked me, sir, I did not get any promotion, but my friend who joined the data management is in the higher grade now than me. So what do you suggest me? Should I change the company? Should I? Okay, he asked all these questions. You see that there is a growth in the data management. I'm not because of one person joined, but ideally the data management has a huge growth in most of the companies. Why? Because no matter how much of clinical trials I do, no matters in how many hospitals I do clinical trial or how much money I spend in clinical trial, but if I don't clean the data properly, or if I don't have a team um, who actually knows about what is the data management and do the analysis, then the drug will never able to release into the market, right? And that is the reason nowadays TCS, Cognizant, even the IT companies like Cognizant, TCS, Wipro, even Accenture having the data management operations apart from the pharma and the CRO companies. Okay, so now let me ask you all same question. Now tell me, what is the clinical trial? I think you all might have completed the basic or the initial session of the data management. That is the reason I'm asking. So while I'm sharing my screen, you can just go ahead and you, you don't have to. Okay, fine. If you're really scared, since it's first day, you don't have to unmute. You can type. Hmm? No one? Come on, guys. I'm sharing my screen, but meanwhile, just okay. Mm-hmm. Good. In a try, I'm finding something by use. Oh my goodness. Okay. Two, equivalent is three. Fine. Yeah. Fine. I'm sharing my screen. Yeah, that's good answers. But based on by looking at the hmm, what is this? It's just a second, something happened. Hello. Yeah, just a second, guys. So by looking at answers, I feel you all need to work on the definitions. So how many of you know www.ichgcp.net? ICHGCP dot. How many of you know this website? Just a second, I'm just facing issues with that. How many? So what happens here? Can you confirm if you can see my screen, guys? Okay, good. So very good. Yeah, the ICGCP, nothing but an International Conference of Harmonization Good Clinical Practice. I'll explain in the coming sessions, but meanwhile, you can go to the website. You'll get a lot of definitions, lot of meanings, and entire definitions that we use in the clinical research. That is very important website that gives a lot of information. You can read it. So, okay. So, what is the clinical data management? The clinical data management is the collection, integration, validation of the clinical trial data. So what is the data? Data is nothing but any observations, any findings in a clinical research called the clinical trial data. Take note of it. So most of the times what happens, they don't ask you the process. They ask mainly the definitions. Okay, they'll ask you what is a clinical trial, or what is the therapeutic area, or what is the data management, or what is the data validation, what is the data integration. So no one wants to know the entire process of data management for the from the freshers. They only wanted to know whether you know the basic understanding, whether you have the basic understanding, whether you know the meaning of it. Okay, so that is the reason that throughout these sessions, I'll more concentrate on the definitions. I'll more concentrate on the process. At the same time, I'll also ask you people to um, also ask you people to write some of the important things. What happens when you have important things? Let's say you're going for an interview. Whenever you go for an interview, whenever you go for an interview, you may not be able to review everything that you have in the protocol. It's not very easy. So what happens here? You can review your immediate notes that you have. So take note of it. What is the clinical data management? So you don't have to put these diagrams and all. What is the data management? Clinical data management. Clinical data management is the collection, integration, and validation of the clinical trial data. So if you see here, we are seeing three options. One is that we are we are collecting the data, and we are validating the data, and we are integrating the data. So that means So where do we collect the data and what is the validation? How do we do this validation? This all we will see in the coming sessions. So what are the main objectives? So when I say objectives, you can say main task or main responsibilities, or you can say main important works that they do. Okay, so what is your objective by joining this course? So your objectives are by joining this course, your objectives are getting a job and getting more understanding or more knowledge on the data management. So that is your objectives of for joining this course. Okay, so same way that the objectives of the clinical data management are that clinical data management is the process of ensuring the data collected during the clinical trials are these 4 points are very important, most of the times asked in the interview, that why or what are the main responsibilities or what are the main tasks, what they are doing in the data management is nothing but being accurate. Whatever we are collecting, the data is accurate, complete, logical, consistent. Okay, so let's stop here. Now I'll tell you what we are collecting. I'm just saying, data integration, data validation. I'm saying, data collection. But what data we are collecting, from where we are collecting, how we are collecting. So when I ask you people, the um, So when I ask you people, what is the clinical trial? You said we test the drug on human subjects, a research study to evaluate the efficacy and safety of the drugs. And you also mentioned for public safety before the marketing drug and studies involving human or animal subjects. Animal subjects are, man, there's nothing but animal subjects. It's only we do in the phase zero, okay? That involves assessing the efficacy of the drugs and their safety before release into the market. Okay, oh, fine. So let's take an example of you said about human beings only. Okay, so now we are testing a new product, a new drug, or new vaccination on human beings in order to evaluate the safety and efficacy. So, how do we say this drug is safe? Can someone tell me how do you say the drug is safe and effective? How? That's okay if it's a wrong also, totally fine. I'm not judging anyone. Okay. So just take a few seconds, think and write it down. How do you say the drug is safe and effective? Come on, you can write it down. That's okay. Come on. Only 3 out of 30 people. By using the preclinical. Come on, write it down. Don't test it. It's okay. Answer. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. See, you all know. All you just is stating. That's all. Mm-hmm. Come on. Cure the disease without ADR. Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Come on, come on. I need all 60 answers. Come on. After getting response from the efficacy, when benefit is more over the risk. Mm-hmm. Evidence from the clinical trial, we shall measure by the test, minimal side effects. Oh, okay, good. So let me read. I'm not just trying to find by doing preclinical and clinical trial. If it is showing it action with very less adverse reactions from the clinical data analysis by observing the outcome of the product. Outcome, okay. If it is showing less ADAs preclinical trial based on the therapeutic actions and no or minimal side effects based on the data from the trial. After collecting the data from the study population, if the drug produces the required therapeutic effect, when we see significant positive change after getting response efficacy, benefits of data collection. Okay, guys, I've taken some of the interviews in my career. I usually don't go for interviews. Why? Because I'm very specific in answers, especially not in the sessions, but only in the interviews. So I easily, judge people in interviews, not outside. Okay, only interviews in the sense of the way they talk, the way they're answering, the way they are trying to tell whether they are whether they have clear idea or not. Okay, so if at all I ask someone, how do you know or how do you say the drug is safe and effectiveness? And if someone tells me any at least one of this answer, I will reject him on this spot. I'm not telling that I will reject you people. I'm telling in the interview. Why? Because anything that you talk, okay, anything you talk that should have the basic understanding on the clinical research. That is the backbone. So some of you mentioned preclinical and clinical. Okay, fine. Some of you mentioned adverse drug reactions. Very good. 2 points I've learned. Some of you mentioned data analysis. Third point. So you are learning so many points here. But what's happening that no one spoke the right point, but you're given the n number of points. That means you have an idea, which is good. So now what you do, whatever idea you have, make sure that you you the I mean, I'm trying to tell very clearly, you make sure that you have a strong foundations. So now I understood that what kind of knowledge or how much knowledge you have in the clinical research. So what you do now you know something. You know something about the clinical research. You know something about the data management. You are able to answer on the first day itself. Maybe I don't know if you have taken the sessions previously. On the first day itself, you are able to answer something even without keeping quiet. Okay, so now what you do, have some take some more time and add some more knowledge to this understanding you have. Then by the time we complete these sessions, and I'm very sure that you'll able to answer with a very perfect. So now what you do, I've given the website, that is www.icgcp.net. Just don't read it, study it. Okay, there is a difference between read the and study. We read the newspaper, but we study our notebooks. Why? Because read it just get an idea and get some knowledge. But when you study, you'll get the knowledge out of it. You understand in depthly. Okay, so always study something that you want to wish to get the complete wisdom out of it. Okay, so now how do we say that the drug is safe and effective? Yes, with the data, there is no doubt in that. Whatever you said, it's correct. But if I say just data analysis, preclinical, no one likes that. In order to say the drug is safe and effectiveness, we are supposed to do the clinical trial. Yeah, someone mentioned that clinical trial. Very good. So during this clinical trial, we okay, is there any answer? Because everything, any person who said it's when it performs better than the placebo? See, every time we don't use the placebo or the control group. Sometimes I do clinical trial with open label extensions. Sometimes I do clinical trial without any blinding. So it does not have to be specifically only placebo, the control group, but sometimes it depends on it. So most of the times it's all about how you conduct the clinical trial. Okay, very good point. That's a really good point. It's a different than everything, but it's good. So in order to say that drug is safe and effectiveness, whenever we do the clinical trial, or let me tell you how we conduct the clinical trial. So the most common diseases are common worries that we have in India and most of the countries are is cancer and diabetes and other diseases. These are most uncalled. Yeah, of course, MIs, heart problems and all. So now what they do, most of the cancer does not have the do not have the medications or any other treatment, only some supportive treatment to extend the life expectancy. So now what these sponsor companies or what this pharma companies does, they find a synthetic, I mean, they do synthesis the product, and which can work with the particular disease of the particular cancer. So now how do they know that this medication may or may not work with that? They will first understand completely about the particular disease, and they understand completely, they read very carefully about that particular disease, they read the populations, and they look into the what is the relevance or the prevalence of this disease in what population, whether it's pediatric or adult, male or female or every, and what is the number of people that are suffering with this disease, like, because um, there is one clinical trial that I worked on, Sakura Bonsai. So it has only 50 patients in the entire world, only 50 patients, and we wanted 32 people from that. Where we will get 32 people from 50 people in the world? It's hard to find them. So after 7 months of the particular clinical trial, we stopped it actually. We had to close the particular clinical trial. That is and also it's not very profitable for the sponsor companies. So that is the reason that they see number of patients who are experiencing the particular disease. If it's more number of patients, that means more number of chances that they might buy their medications. Okay, and that is the reason. So, and then now they identify based on the pathology or based on the understanding the particular disease, they will, the pharma companies will create a product in the laboratory, whether it is a protein related or carbohydrate or any gene therapy related or any antibiotic related or any other protein. So they identify medications. It's not medication that I can call, it's a product that they create. Now they test this in the animals just to understand that whether this medication is safe or not to even give, not how safely it works, it's just to save, and what is the route of transmission that we can give, whether it is intravascular, intramuscular, oral or nasal. So what is the best way we can give this medication, and how much medication we can start with, and how the antigen antibody reactions would work, and they see all these possibilities in the animal studies. And once they have animal studies, they will register this medication and their clinical trial that they are planning to do with the government. So every government will have a one registry which where they register their clinical trials completely, like, what medication they're going to test, what is the patient population that they have, and what is the population that doing, or whether they're taking only male patients, adult patients. They'll give all the details and when they're planning to start. So now There's something called in some companies we say INDs, some companies they say, based on that, investigational new drug application. That means, so we will put this application to regulatory authority of government asking for, hey, we are planning to do this clinical trial in this hospitals, this many hospital in these many patients. This is our process. This is our details of particular medication that we want to test on, and this many people are suffering, and this is what happens with the disease, and this is what happens when you give the medications. So if the regulatory authority feels satisfied with the answers and their documents, they will give approval to conduct the clinical trial. Fine, they gave approval, but where do I do the clinical trial? So of course on the patients that I'm doing, where we will get the patients in hospitals. So now there are many hospitals in India. Now I can just say, if you see in Australia where I'm living, many hospitals they conduct the clinical trial. Why? Because in India, most of the people have no idea what is the trial. And the second thing is that we don't give that opportunity to test ourselves on the particular new product. And also that, and literacy also. It's only city people will follow such rules. Otherwise, very rural places and will not participate. Why? Because lack of transportations, and they may not able to transport travel there, and some regulatory things, like for example, if you give them, you cannot take the patient in a clinical trial who don't have an education. So again, the consent issues will come. That is the reason. But in they will understand more about the medications very easily. And there is one person, he's very elder to me, somewhere 70 years. So he's an Italian. He's settled in Australia. And we went for a coffee, he and me myself, 2 weeks back. So he was asking me many questions about medications, because during the COVID there are many people who have not taken the vaccination. They have only taken one medication that was generating only in India, that was related for a horse. They were giving this medication to horse, but somehow they felt this medication can be helpful for the human beings for the COVID. These people have taken that actually, and they did not have any complications. Even till date, they did not take the COVID vaccinations. So he was asking me like, So he was asking me like how this medication would works and what is the process and all. So when I was talking to him, he was also trying to share more knowledge on, and so most of the people will have an idea here how in most of the countries what is the trial and all. So now these sponsor companies will talk to the hospital who conduct the clinical trial. Can someone tell me if you know any clinical trials locations or hospitals in India? Any hospitals who conduct the clinical trials. Have you done that research ever? Come on, it's okay. I'm not telling anything if you say wrong. I'm trying to encourage you all. That's all. ACT Mumbai. Okay, good. Anyone else? James Hospital, Chicago. Okay. EAG Hospital. Very good. Come on, only three people. James Hospital in Chicago. You mean Vizag, which is the King's James? I don't know. I'm trying to understand. Max New Delhi, Siddhartha Hospital in our area is MG Hospital, Chhatrapati Sambhajinagar, okay. Tata Memorial, okay. Good, good. We all know. Come on, I want to hear more hospitals. NIMS, Hyderabad. Come on, Hyderabad. JMC Value, very good. Yes, James Hospital, my friend is currently working there as CRO. CRO is working or CRC is working as? You might be working as a CRC. PJMS, okay. Come on. That's all. UN Mehta Hospital, Ahmedabad. Okay, very good. Patil, good. St. John's Hospital, very good. Okay, Sadi, are you from St. John's Hospital? Okay, because that's where I studied. Very good. Mm-hmm. That's all. Now Mumbai. That's all. Eluru, Asha. Okay, I don't know. I didn't know that they do the trial. Okay, very good. SRM Hospital. Okay, Vijaya Hospitals. Chennai. Yashoda Hospital. Very good. I was waiting for this. Okay. Homi Pawa Cancer Hospital. Okay, very good. JSS Hospital, Mysore. Very good. Good. So now you all know that you have opportunities in this hospital. That's the reason I was telling. So this means you have opportunities in all these hospitals, like clinical research coordinator, ethics coordinator, all these. Okay, so try to get experience for the from the hospital as a CRC. You will have a very good knowledge, of working at the for the clinical trials. Okay, very good, very good, good. So now the pharma companies will reach out to these hospitals and ask ask investigators stating that, hey, we got an approval for this clinical trial. We have seen and identified that you have a good experience in conducting the clinical trials and a cancer. So would you able to perform our trial? And they will explain all the process, all the clinical trial to the particular investigator, asking them, hey, we want 5 patients or 4 patients from your hospitals, and they'll talk about the funding and everything. Then now this doctor, now let's say one patient had come and let's say brain cancer. So the pharma company have already reached out to that for the trial. So now he will tell them that, hey, so far you are living on supplementary medication, which is extending your life. However, you try a new product that is being testing. So if you be in the clinical trial, we will regularly focus on you closely. You don't have to pay money for any testing medication. So even once this medication approved in the government by a government, you even get, if this get successfully show efficacy and safety, you will get this medication for free for the rest of your life. Such offers they'll have, and also that most of the peoples might say yes. Why? Because uh, for the for the for every cancer there is no medication, so they might get the possibility, not sure, possible trial they will get. And also that in a clinical trial we regularly check the patients, like their chemistry and biochem and serology, everything, scanning, like required scanning, like MR scans, CT scans, everything we test on. Okay, so we test all these cases and ensure that patient is regularly being monitored and all. So that's how we involve the patients and we take the informed consent, and on regular basis he comes to the site. So whenever he comes to the site, we will collect all the data. When I say collecting of all the data, doesn't mean not his property data, not his anything. We collect his disease related information, and how much medication we have given him, the trial product, when did he come to the site, what is like now he give we give the lab test for every time he comes. Okay, is there any changes in the laboratory testings values? Is there any issues in this? Is there any surprising resolution in his cancer, in MRI scans or CT scans? And is there any side effects? Nothing but adverse drug reactions the patient experienced. So we checked for all these possibilities, and now I've checked it. I know there is something. Where we will enter this data? So now let's say your teacher is saying explaining a class, and you just went with the empty hands. Now when teacher says that, hey, this is important one, you should write, where you will write? You don't have any place, right? Okay, let's say you are a doctor, and one of the patient came and told you, hey doctor, I'm experiencing a headache, and you gave him and the patient also had the fever, you gave him the paracetamol. Next week he came and scolded doctor, stating that, hey, you gave me the medication for stomach pain, not for the fever. He would say, no, no, I gave you the paracetamol, not the stomach pain one. No, 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 you gave me the different, not the paracetamol. So they get the argument. For example, just saying, right? Well, that's one thing. Second thing is that um, um, documentation. So whatever we speak, there should be documentation somewhere. So that is the reason that whenever the patient comes to hospital, the first thing that reception do is that they will write a file. So the file contains everything. When did the patient come, and what are they'll check the vitals. Then they will discuss with the doctor, and they will, whatever the doctor speaking, they will write everything, their medications, everything. Why? Because it's a documentation that talks about the particular patient conversation with the doctor, or doctor conversation with the patient, and the hospice particular visit. Same way in the clinical trials, we have the data entry forms, where site will enter the data once the patient completes their visit, like at what time they came, on what date they have come, if the patient is the patient experienced any side effects during the trial product. So they review everything, they understand everything the patient related, and they document everything. So what is the document is nothing but the case report form. So this case report form, everything that we will discuss in the next session. Okay, so now, any questions so far, you all? While I'm talking, you all have any questions for me? No questions? The storage and retrieval of the clinical data comes under CDM. See, the retrieval, it depends on it. So, storage, of course, it comes under the data management during the closure process. And when it comes to the retrieval, again, every depends on the pharma companies. So, it's a specific activity that they do. For example, it is not according to the study. For example, I've done the clinical trial, I've done my process, everything. Now, what happens here if the data sponsor company wants to review some data, the specific company within the specific CDM department within the company will review and open it, but it does not come under the study specific. Any other questions? That we will talk in the sessions. How does data quality and integrity? So now what we do for the next session, I want you all to go through the website that I've given, but again, I just give you. So it has a very important information that you have. Like, you'll get plenty of good information. I'm telling, I don't have a LinkedIn ID, because I actually stopped using, because once started taking the sessions, just stopped it. Will I talk over the CDM jobs? Maybe, may not be. There is a reason. I'll tell you in the coming sessions. So the website that I've given, um, the it contains very good information. So if you want to gain good knowledge about the clinical research, go through it. So when you click on here, um, when you click on here, it talks about the guidelines of the good clinical practice. Click on the introduction. So when you click on the introduction, you will have some basic understanding on that. What is the guideline scope? What is the structure and everything? Then you can go to the um, just sorry. Yeah, then you can go to annex for now. So in the annex, you have so much of definitions, everything like compliance, what is the GCP, everything. So these are the specific terms, because on ongoing basis, I keep talking some definitions. Okay, so when I talk these definitions, you should be able to understand, right? So read those definitions, meanings, and understanding. Then we will talk on the coming sessions. So if no questions, thank you so much. Yeah, someone has shared the form, right? So take a minute and fill that form and submit. And that's all from my end. And thank you so much. And see you all in the next session. Bye bye. Have a nice rest of the day and happy weekend.